Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Case Studies here at Digital HR Day on HR Week 2022. I'm very happy to have Ricardo Maia join us here today for his case study on digital transformation, which begins at the employee level. Hi, Rico, how are you?
I'm very good. Thank you very much, Masha.
Amazing. Okay, so the virtual stage is yours. Please take care of our audience.
Just a question. You see my presentation?
Yeah,
Oh, yes. Now,
absolutely.
yes. Okay, great. Awesome. Hello, everyone. My name is Ricardo Maia, but please call me Rico from now on. I'm the head of sales of Blue Colibri International, and I would actually like to start by thanking the organization of the event for giving me the opportunity to share a little bit about our learnings as a company that have helped other companies to implement their strategies for digital transformation. Blue Colibri International is a startup that has roots in HR consultancy. And because of that, we've seen many cases of companies that struggled with too many or the wrong tools, fragmented or not transparent information, and difficult communication with the workforce that in the end resulted in the usual suspects: low productivity, high turnover, and low engagement. So today I have prepared a quick presentation, not about Blue Colibri, but about the struggles that organizations face when implementing the digital transformation strategies, and what we have learned from working with companies in different industries, especially ones that have large portion of their workforce not located in front of a computer at all times. Yes, I am talking about the blue collar ones. Blue Colibri, blue collar. But of course, all of this is also applicable to companies in any industry. Okay, so let's get started. So for those of us who are more than 35 years old, we have seen things evolve in such rapid succession that only when we reflect on them is that we actually understand how digital technology is important in today's life. We've seen the popularization of home computers, the birth of Windows operating systems, the birth of MP3 players, and the birth of smartphones as we know them today. Well, we actually know a world without the internet, and for some of us it's actually even hard to remember when was the last time they had to go for a meeting and know exactly where to go and when to arrive without having a Google Maps or a notification on the pocket calendar. The reality is that the great majority of us, even if you are from a generation before the millennials, we rely on digital solutions on a daily basis. We check news on social media, we order food in restaurants, we have medical certificates at hand, such as the COVID certification, we check for jobs, we watch the news, we get entertained, and a multitude of other things as well. This so-called digital revolution is actually in the past. We are now in another revolution, the social digital revolution, right? So, but this is a topic for another conversation. My point is that independently of where we are and what we are doing, digital assets are a reality. And yet, when it comes to employees, so many companies are still not realizing that. I'll give you an example. Employees are actually expected to learn and operate highly complex and technological machinery, but their internal communication channels are still paper-based or relies on person-to-person communication. An employee needs to get onboarded, educated, integrated, and most of the processes on this onboarding process are done in a classical setup of classroom and lectures, with physical copies of manuals and norms that are very hard to update. Now think about it. How much time and effort is spent by an employee just to reach out to information in this setup? How much effort and cost is spent by the company just to keep information and resources organized, available, and updated? I will not even mention the time spent by HR to organize these things, a time that HR professionals could be using to actually work in real organizational development. So for those reasons, and many more, that we believe that digital transformation should begin at the employee level. Companies should put more trust in the employees' digital literacy, and finally embrace ways to communicate, train, manage, and engage with their teams. Always keeping it in mind that digital transformation is also an exercise for organizational culture. And as any effort put in that direction, it requires patience and diligence. It's digital transformation, yes, but still for humans. When it comes to HR processes, there are different ways to implement digital tools. Many companies already have their digital solutions for different parts of their businesses, either administration tools, information newsletters, continuous education, or even pulse surveys to measure organizational climate. It's interesting how many tools you can see already implemented in companies, but the access to them is not so democratic and not easy to use. And that's another learning that we have gathered through these years of experience and feedback from our clients. The solution you're looking for is a solution that combines features that best reflect the elements of your organizational culture in one place. And why is that? Because it reinforces the culture, it empowers the users, the employees, and helps the management of people and data. That's why implementing a digital platform or a digital transformation strategy for your organization needs to be very well thought. It takes an average of 4 to 7 months from evaluation to implementation of a digital HR solution. And it takes constant effort and support from both clients and the providers to keep the digital train on rails, quote unquote. The good thing is that it really pays off. Blue Colibri is actually a living proof that companies that invest in digital transformation actually get their well-deserved ROI. We wouldn't be in business if we wouldn't have this. But there are two things that you have to consider here. First, even if you see an all-in-one solution or platform out there, that doesn't mean that your organization will use all of the features of that provider. Remember that they need to reflect your organizational culture first. And the second thing you have to consider is that I am not saying that all platforms that you will see out there needs necessarily to have everything in one place. There are great solutions that are not all in one. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so now what are the 4 biggest lessons that we have learned in the past 3.5 years working with our clients? The first lesson I'd like to share is that organizational culture and engagement matter. If you have a high level of resistance, or if your organizational culture is not strong, then you cannot wait for a miracle. It doesn't matter how many tools you will use. If your culture and engagement is bad, you will not see results coming. And worse, you and your superiors will get frustrated. In our experience, we have heard many times phrases like, why don't we have all the employees downloading the app? Or it's been already 2 months since the implementation. Why? And people are not using the application. As I mentioned before, digital transformation should be treated as an element of the culture. If your people are not engaged with the organization already, they will not be interested in innovation. So keep that in mind when you want to see real change in your organization. It's a marathon and it's not a sprint. Rico, so you will ask me here, Rico, does this mean that that we should not think about digital transformation if our employees are not fully engaged with our organizational culture? And I say, of course not. I mean, it's quite the contrary. But you should keep in mind, again, that there is no panacea. There is no one remedy to cure them all, right? Your organization needs to invest in the culture as well, together with digital transformation. So remember that when you want to find a new tool or something that you want to see a result coming for. So the tips or that we got working from hundreds of clients that we have are, the first tip from this first lesson is set reasonable KPIs. So don't expect conversion rates of 80% of downloads in the first few weeks. Set a KPI for the whole year. Use the knowledge of your service provider to implement different elements and activities. Usually the service providers have great support and can give you good case practices on how to get the best out of new tools. Educate your HR people to get new ideas and motivate them to implement new ideas for engagement. That, combined with reasonable KPIs, will keep your energy or the company's energy level up for the long run. The second tip is to create an implementation strategy. You can involve your employees in the implementation, like giving a name for the app or asking them what features they want to use. You know, what is the most important thing here is what is useful for the employees at that given moment. We're going to talk about this shortly, a little bit more about this shortly. The next tip is to ease the administrative burden of employees. So don't use the tools only for sending messages. I say this especially because when we started as Blue Colibri way back in 2019, we were only an internal communications platform. And the main feature was actually to send news. But we saw that some of our clients were already using the platform not only for news, but also to create different types of content that could create more engagement with the employees. So remember that even if an app or a platform have use cases, you don't have to follow them 100%. Use the examples from your provider as guidelines and not as rules. It's called a solution, right? There's a reason why it's called a solution. The platform that you're using needs to make the lives of your employees easier, not harder. They should not feel that is one more task for them. It should be something natural. Okay. The next tip is to onboard new colleagues. Of course, you should use your digital tools from the beginning of the employee life cycle or in the onboarding process. New colleagues are more likely to get the engagement tools that you provide. They want to be part of the team, so the elements of the culture will be much more better welcomed by them. And, and if you have new cultural elements, that's actually the logical first step. And the next or the last tip of the first lesson is to make rewards and employee benefits available. So next to the administrative stuff or sending news or these kind of things, you should also add some fun elements to your platform, like quizzes, challenges, activities that are enabled by your provider to make the employees more engaged with the application as well. I will also talk about this a little bit further on. So the second lesson out of 4 is to involve employees in the implementation of your tool or digital transformation strategy. It's like an IKEA effect. IKEA effect. What is the IKEA effect? In a nutshell, an IKEA effect means that when you are involved with the creation of something, you are more likely to be engaged and to care about it. So this is the second lesson I want to share with you. You have to involve the employees in the implementation of your digital transformation strategy. The first tip here is to identify needs and ask for their opinion. Well, I know that sounds really logical and obvious, but you will be surprised on how many companies still try to create stuff without having the participation of their people. As a startup, we know that the importance of validation, and it's not different with large companies in this matter. So just as mentioned, create surveys or quizzes that identify their needs or the needs of the employees and their opinions. And you can use that information to create content that is relevant for them. And they will surely watch if it's video or read if it's a text. The next tip is to vote on the app name. I mean, it's a really simple thing. It's a really small thing, but it really helps the employees to identify and integrate with the organizational culture and with the app or the solution that you are going to implement as well. Usually, service providers get this white labeled solution, so you can give them the app or the solution name that you want. And for that, you can have a vote. And the last tip here is to involve test users or ambassadors. So just ask the help of some people that will be the first ones to check for new features or check or test the new features. These people will be, they will feel very important to have the first access, the privilege of having the first access and testing the features in first hand. And they will give you invaluable feedback as well. And plus, they will be ambassadors for it, right? Because they are involved in it. All right, this was the second lesson that we learned. Now, for the third lesson that we've learned, we have the tips here that are create continuous content, create templates, involve all departments, and reduce the importance of other platforms. So here, what I want to share is the importance of administrators, right? We have experience with companies that were very resistant to creating continuous content. The most common quote-unquote excuse is that it's too much work. It's more work than they were used to. But that is actually a misconception of the transitional period when you are implementing something. You will, of course, have to adjust the tasks and workload to your new reality with a digital transformation tool. And at that period, you will have more tasks and more workload. That's logical. It's a change. You're going through a change. But once you have your system implemented, and remember to set reasonable KPIs here, you will spend more time in creating a productive work environment with more relevant content than you had before. So yeah, administrators are extremely important. They will be the ones discovering the elements of your organizational culture that can be easily touched and developed. So in terms of creating continuous content, this is a pretty straightforward thing. If your administrators are not continuously creating content, there will be no engagement. A good example is personal stories, just like how I found this job, or what I like to do in my free time, or things that can be related to work or not related to work. Personal stories are really interesting. People really dig them. You can create templates. Of course, this is related to content creation. And here the thing is, reflecting on it's much more workload. It's not. Just create, you don't have to create new templates every time you want to interact with your employees. Create simple templates that can be filled out in a smart way. The most important thing here is the message that you want to convey, not the design of it. Just create a few designs and then you can go on with that. The next one is to involve all departments. And here's an example. We have a client that separates content creation by department. So every week there is a new content coming from different departments. And this creates a sense of belonging, right? From everyone. Everybody knows what's going on in the different departments of the company. And especially when you want to celebrate the small victories. It's not always that we have a global partner signing up a contract, but every day we have a little small victory that we want to celebrate. And this can also go with different departments and content coming from them. And finally, reduce the importance of other platforms. And this means the usage of platforms that don't help your digital transformation strategy, right? So you can have different platforms that help that, so you don't have to reduce their importance. But for example, notice boards, paper-based communication, you should definitely reduce or even extinguish the usage of them altogether. And in case, for example, of education, no more paper-based books or information sharing. You can have everything digital if the platforms that you are using actually accommodate that. So remember that it always have to accommodate within your organizational culture, okay? Last but not least, our fourth lesson is that managers should be involved, right? Managers should definitely be involved in the creation of content. Employees feel much more safe when they have news from the CEO or the C-level employees. It's good to hear from time to time what are the plans, the goals, the struggles, and what they are working on as well. If we think about it, the C-level colleagues are usually less humanized due to their positions in the company. And employees in the factory floor, for example, have no idea what's going on with them. So having the leadership involved is important to create a sense of community as well. We know that these colleagues are usually by default super busy, but based on our experience, the companies that can smartly involve them are the ones that actually achieve success. So really try to involve your managers. In the graph, you will see that 30% of the content comes from the leadership, while 70% comes from the central team. The managers are here on yellow, and the central team here is on blue. And of course, we have to talk about the balance between content, right? So half of it is company related, and the other half should be of the interest of the employees. As you see in the graph as well, the vertical axis cuts the circle right in the half. So you can see that there needs to be a balance there. This also reflects on something that I have mentioned before, that is that when we are on a digital social revolution, and we want to know about each other. So because of that, because we want to know about each other, we can create more empathy towards each other, and of course towards the company. And this is actually a really good strategy. When your employees have empathy towards the company, they can achieve much more success. All right. Now that we saw the lessons learned, I'd like to give you examples of real use cases on companies that already implemented their digital transformation and keep innovating the interactions with their employees. The first one is about onboarding challenges. I mentioned onboarding, right? So Some of our clients, they use this when onboarding new colleagues. They give them 20 challenges to accomplish in 3 months, for example. Simple tasks like getting coffee with different colleagues in different departments, for example. And the more they accomplish these challenges, the more they get points that can later be redeemed for in the web shop for items in the company, the items that the company is willing to provide, like mugs or shirts or wellness tickets, cinema tickets, theater, or whatever. So this is onboarding challenges. This actually keeps the onboarding process more bearable, and the colleagues can actually get more involved in it. The next example is from Transpad. Let Your Voice Be Heard is it's like a transparency portal. Anyone in the company can ask anonymous questions to the leadership, and the leaders will answer publicly on video or writing. This initiative is a success in Transpad, and they make people really attached to their core values as well. Question and answer vlog is a fun activity that involves everyone in the company. It's like an ice bucket challenge, if you ever heard about it, where the colleagues ask different colleagues about different stuff, interesting topics that they want to know about. And at the end, when they answer on video, they can nominate other colleagues also to participate. So Guntner Tata is one of our clients. They have more than 100 videos shared within their platform from their employees. The employees, they are super engaged in it. It's a really cool initiative. Movement Challenge with CSR is an initiative that comes right when the pandemic hit the hardest, like in 2021. And the companies wanted to keep the CSR activities and involve involve the employees on it. So basically, whenever they would do some physical activity, they can log their activities in the system, and those achievements will generate points that can be redeemed in the web shop. But instead of having gifts from the web shop, they can donate stuff to NGOs. And this became so popular that many companies are still doing it. So it's a really cool CSR activity that actually involves the employees. And last but not least, we have Football Championship betting game, which is a way to follow sports activities and have fun with your colleagues as well. Here we have the example of the Euro 2021, but it can be any championship, just like the FIFA World Cup that is happening right now. All right, if we have some time, I would just like to quick share with you the case study from Practicare. I am not really counting the time, so I don't know. So Masha, if I still have some time, I can share this like 5 slides more. Okay, she didn't say anything,
you absolutely have
to proceed. Masha? Okay, so Practica is a company with 1,700 employees in 21 different locations. And they have an average of 84% of blue-collar workers and the average age of 42 years old. Their biggest challenges were in the internal communication side of the employee engagement. So, for example, they had maintaining team unity in 21 different locations, or ensuring the fast and authentic sharing of information, or things like that, how they could actually manage the communication with each other, right? And the implementation process after the consideration phase took 1 week together with us. And we trained their central team and provided them with ideas on how to get the most out of the platform. Today, Practica has a download ratio of 70% of all employees and more than 1,000 shared content in the platform. So it's a really huge success. A few examples of this is the CEO vlog. The CEO talks to the employees about the plans, strategies, and also about his personal interests. We have personal stories so that the employees are interviewed and share their interests and stories as well. And we have surveys and votes. This is the employees actively participating in the implementation of tools and changes that they want to see in the company. So the achievements that Practica had are actually that they achieved the digitization of a 20-year-old newsletter. They decreased drastically in the email communications within the company. And the burden of information is no longer on the shoulders of the middle management. So the information directly reaches their 1,700 employees. This is what I would like to share with you. Thank you very much. I hope that this is clear that digital transformation tools and strategies are not overly complicated, but they demand some form of investment, other than money, of course. Investing in implementing digital solutions to your organizational culture also pays off. So your employees can learn new tricks. So trust them, okay? Thank you very much. I'm not sure about the time here.
Everything's okay, Rico. Don't worry. So we have a few questions, but I'm gonna ask
Yeah.
our audience to actually transfer them to my main stage, where Rico is gonna take charge of a panel discussion called the Technology-Driven HR Processes and Preparing Your Organization for the Future. So if you have any questions, please transfer them there. Rico, see you in approximately 4 minutes on the main stage.
Okay. All right. Thank
Perfect.
you, Masha.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye.